Let's make sure I haven't screwed anything up. That's always a good start to this. Of course, they're not best of 5s, but just best of 3s. And let's see if these graphs are going to work, guys. Oh, they do. Fantastic. All right, these should be fixed now to work 100% of the time. But again, we're beta testing them, and as I said before, the graphs will eventually be resized and shifted to be right under that production tab. But for now, again, we still go through the beta features. But welcome one and welcome all. It's the 32Boys1Cup wildcard group, and it's the last group in the round of 32. We've gone through a lot of games and a lot of really sick series to get here. But after tonight's group, we can draw the round of 16, and we will be doing it live on stream. Spawning here in the bottom right corner of the map to kick this series off, it is going to be Axiom's CranK.
Never left as the Blue Terran. Its properties, MorroW.
Alright, so MorroW asked for a message that is worth noting. Good guy MorroW is playing on the North American server from Europe. There is going to be latency no matter how good your connection is. Oddly enough, this isn't a scenario though where CranK is coming from Korea. He's actually in North America right now. I believe vacation or study or something, but he's in Texas. So as far as this goes, it's a pretty close to even match. It's definitely not as bad, but good guy CranK, even though the rules of this tournament state all server priority goes to North America, CranK said no, we'll do loser's pick. So I mean, big shout out to CranK for having some class. So if MorroW wants to play on the European server and loses game 1, then we'll swap over to the European server and play game 2. But I don't know. CranK's PvT has always been one of those weird ones for me. For a long time, like his PvZ was pretty damn good. I love CranK's PvP, but I've never really seen his PvT be his strong point. And MorroW's a pretty interesting guy. Sadly, we did see him recently like get 2-0'd by Mana like nobody's business through what I can only best describe as very Protoss tactics, you know, Dark Templar and Oracles. I'm not sure if CranK will know about this or not.
Yeah, especially after it was such a beautiful game versus, what was it, Zerg?
Yeah, he played the craziest game versus Targa and then loses 2-0 to Mana. Then that of course was before the qualifiers. Then he plays the European qualifiers, kicks ass, and qualifies through. So for MorroW, like it's maybe was a bad day, but it was a really bad day when that happened.
It was a bad Protoss day, man. What are you gonna do? Actually, speaking of Protoss, you know, is CranK really gonna do something here? I mean, he doesn't have a second gas, so if he does, it'll be something far off in the future. Maybe just running away from the Reaper. Yeah,
it's actually a bit odd. It's usually the Terran players sneaking around that SCV like this to come back for round 2 of the scouting, not the other way around. MorroW's actually heading back home with his SCV, and this Reaper will probably duck in once here, but then duck out until the 6-minute mark.
I like this little, like, you know, additional scout. I mean, you really want to see what's going on for the gas, really specifically. Now, he sees the guy still in gas, but he also sees the engineering bay. So if he didn't see the engineering bay, he might be thinking factory. Alright, as he comes out, of course, he's the second barracks.
Yeah, I think an engineering base scout is really awkward to scout, though. Because there's some players out there, like the Muslim comes to mind immediately, +1 attacks, right? But then there's everybody else who's like, I hate Oracles missile turrets.
I mean, usually this early, it's no longer for, like, the paranoia.
Yeah, it's +1.
It used to be back in the day, right? When, like, Oracles are just, like, everywhere, every single time. And then people were like, hey, let's actually use this when we get it.
Well, I think as well, people, again, so much of StarCraft 2 has evolved and changed over time. And one of the big key points is, hey, we realize 6 Marines is exactly what you need to deal with an Oracle. If you've got 2 racks as a production, you can actually deal with that pretty well.
And then they make 2 Oracles, and you're like, damn it.
Yeah, then it's like, oh, well, F me. I picked Terran. Oops.
Who knew? Oh, wow. Wow, you're really going far with that one.
Sorry.
I really like that on this overlay, the the nudity bars, they aren't all white, all right? They're a little tan. That's an upgrade.
Oh, you get new. Okay, so yeah, that's, I guess, another thing with the Game Hard I'll have to talk with Ryan about.
Everyone else is like, what the hell?
Yeah, the guy who actually created Game Hard, is working with us to keep perfecting this like graphs model, but also like to keep improving the way things look for our tournament, which is really classy of him and cool. So he's been helping us a lot, and I've been working with him in the last couple of days. But I guess I forgot to bring up the thing with the sensor bars. I'm sorry. For those who don't know what Zombie Rope's talking about, if you go on someone else's vision, well, it's not working for me actually, oddly enough. It will usually, there we go, sensor bars. I tried a couple times there.
Don't look at me, I'm naked.
Yeah. I think it's just what it is the production, right? Like normally in Game Heart you see like the pro buildings. Anyways, Duck's back in right around the 7-minute mark. As expected, this is when you want to be looking for that Robo. This is when you normally want to be looking for that Oracle. However, I don't believe the Reaper saw the Stargates.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. And that's why when you see a Robo, I mean, technically that's later than, like, you know, if CranK was actually going for no Stargate, but it's so hard to tell. Like, you know, okay, it's slightly more finished. You know, most of the pros actually don't show that, so
it's not fully polished off.
Yeah, it doesn't get bigger like Zerg buildings or whatever. But so I mean, he's still gonna defend against oracles, right? Like he's still gonna have Marines here because honestly, that's what Terrans do nowadays.
Yeah, or you have a Wood of Mine hiding somewhere if you go for the earlier factory. But CranK's definitely gonna get a couple of SCV kills. It's actually really annoying when you kill the SCV's building. I don't know about you. I honestly like feel less bad about losing SCVs in the mineral line than I do when something's building because I always forget to replace them. Ooh, Oracle gets snipped off.
That was unnecessary.
Oh, I guess First Blood's not working. Unless did it already go off? I'm having a weird day.
Well, I didn't hear it, but that might be some.
I'm gonna have to look into that after then. Go back to the old extension mod just for the sake of First Blood. Because I don't want to do it manually. But the Phoenix follow-up to this is actually really cool. I like this. Phoenix Colossus. Man, is this a strong strategy, but the problem is, it leaves you really exposed in the early game. This is going to be one of these stronger late-game compositions, but because you invest in Phoenixes, you really don't have a lot of good units to fight with. And quite frankly, big pushes like this, maybe not the 5 racks all in or anything like that, but still big pushes like this, sometimes the photon overcharge isn't enough. And MorroW did go for stim first, so this means he can stim through the overcharge and pick off a lot of probes should he choose to do so.
CranK invested in 2 sentries, so I mean, he should be okay. You're really going to be able to dive on something. This isn't quite big enough to actually sack onto the Nexus. But I don't know if he knows that it's Phoenixes. He didn't quite get a scout in, and the Phoenixes have been they've been hidden. Right?
Yeah, I don't think he's actually revealed them at this point. You saw the first Oracle, it got killed, and honestly, I kind of like that it got killed because I think that puts MorroW at like ease for thinking there's no way I need anti-air. Like, at all. There's no reason to rush it out other than regular Marines, right?
I mean, imagine if MorroW doesn't scout this for a very long time, and he actually goes for, like, more than 4 medevacs. I mean, he's gonna have to scout it eventually, right? Like, you know, hopefully he drops the first 2 medevacs and sees it, and they don't die.
Did you ever get around to watching the Myung-Sik versus Marine King Game 3 on this map?
No. I don't know if you tell me to watch that.
I think maybe I didn't, but it was a sick one where Myung-Sik played Phoenix Colossus as well, and it was just like 2 weekends ago for the Elite Elite guys.
Dude.
And one of the big things about it was like Myung-Sik had enough Phoenixes that he lifted up Marine King's like entire army.
Well, Myung-Sik really loves Phoenixes. I mean, that's kind of really got popular, at least to me, is that he was like abusing Phoenixes versus you know, Zerg more so than anyone else, but. So I'm not surprised, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Big army from MorroW. He's going to have to reveal the Phoenixes. I mean, they're going to have to help out here.
Sims forward, folks, the Colossus. Nope, goes for the Zealots. Ooh, a little bit awkward. Yeah. The Phoenixes, as we see, really good at just, you know, go for those medevacs. Even boosted, medevacs can barely outrun these Phoenixes. Wow, you always forget how fast these are until you see them in action.
The problem is you really, like, you have to stim so often too of running away from this, where usually CranK really isn't giving chase. But CranK, I guess he thinks he's at a good advantage here with the Phoenixes. His ground army isn't really all that great, but I suppose with like enough force fields, you can feel pretty confident moving out. Yeah,
well, I mean, the idea is like you focus on 3 to 5 Colossus, and then your Phoenix are supposed to be everything else with charge lots underneath it. So, I mean, it's not like the composition here is too complicated. Ooh, nice little pick up there. Too complicated out of what CranK's doing, but it is incredibly annoying because Phoenixes actually do a great job at fighting with Vikings. I don't know why that's the case. I wish they would tweak something to change that, but yeah, Vikings do not have the best time at dealing with Phoenixes.
Yeah, there's always... This is kind of a hard style to like go up against. I've rarely seen anyone where they actually demolish it so hard. I wish the Protoss didn't go for the style. I mean, people certainly win against the style all the time, but it's like, you know, it's people, from what I've seen, mostly fumble. They aren't quite sure should they target the Vikings and the Colossus first, which I think is the best idea, but sometimes they don't anyways. Should they try and kite the Phoenixes more often and like don't take the actual engagement?
Yeah, between like Phoenixes and any amount of sentries or stalkers, like the Vikings go down pretty quickly in this composition. I actually really like the idea of getting ghosts out early. One of the big things, of course, is EMPs come into effect. Get rid of all that energy here on the Phoenixes. No, it's not like a storm, but it stops their use of killing anything on the ground.
Yeah, and if you try your hardest to get up to a big Viking count, which, you know, you need for sure, and you forget ghosts, they might get on the way to, you know, Templars themselves. What's up?
Oh, no, man. I thought you didn't have a second starport down before the factory died. All you need is a second starport, really.
Yeah. And he already has an armory and all that too, so he's good there. But yeah, I mean, like you can try and like actually over dedicate to the amount of Vikings and not realize that they are capable of getting Storm, especially if they got 3 bases, kind of no problem.
Yeah. This is, I mean, I've actually seen CranK do this before too, back in the Extra Team Story Cup. So I already know, like, even half a year ago, he was pretty good at pulling this off. CranK is one of those guys who, like, only ever gets better. It might not be by a lot or leaps and bounds, but I imagine his control of this game should be okay. I don't think we're going to see that instance where you're like, oops, I flew over the Marines. Well, I guess that's game. GG.
Oh, I hope not.
The Forge starts really late, though, actually. I didn't realize double Forge. I mean, like, okay, you got Chrono Boost, your Protoss, but still, this is kind of late in the Forges.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know with Chrono Boost here, but MorroW's already way into 3 weapons, so it could be 3-1 versus 0-0, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the Colossus, they don't need upgrades like crazy, right? But obviously, it's better to have. Oh, wow. Scan on the minimap. Looks really nice. Oh, these game art features are so cool, Zombie Grub.
I did not notice.
Oh, maybe I gotta send you this mod thing, man. You can enjoy the aesthetics. It's so pretty.
I do like pretty things.
Man, the ghosts are... You know, I like the ghosts too, because just their damage alone. Bonus versus light, good at sniping off the Phoenixes. Psionic units that they maybe don't take that crazy extra damage. I like these units for anti-Phoenixes. They're good for anti-Zealots as well. But, oh, MorroW gets hit with a bit of a run by one of the depots that had supply called on it burning too. That really sucks. That's gonna be a nasty supply block if that goes down.
Kind of surprised no engagement have gone down at all. You know, attempt at drops, you probably should do against Phoenix Isle anyways, but not even like a really big skirmish, you know, Sansa won at the 3rd. So they're both kind of, you know, acknowledging that. And MorroW's getting, you know, a couple more command centers, and you should, you know, after a while, if he gets a bank, because they are getting max, you should think about sacrificing SCVs. Well,
that's the thing, too. Like, CranK on one hand, he gets to sit back, relax, and get to a death ball. MorroW, on the other hand, he gets to actually get his army supply bigger, because you're right, he'll have the extra command centers, he'll drop mules, he won't need the SCVs. I don't know if he'll necessarily pull the boys per se, but he'll be able to just remove that supply. And again, this is so annoying to deal with. Oh, gets on top of the Vikings, and again, look how good Phoenixes are, guys. He's invested in the air weapons too, I didn't even realize, so an extra little bit of damage there.
Mm-hmm. You know, CranK actually did not invest into Storm. He has Templar Archive, so Archons are certainly going to help out if they don't get EMP'd, that is.
He get like 1.
Oh, yeah, well, that's scary.
I feel like he's gone too Colossus heavy with this. But the idea is, like, you can afford to go more Colossus heavy because the Vikings will be dealing with the Phoenixes or vice versa. So one way or the other, you'll actually have Colossus for the fight opposed to them getting annihilated right away. CranK gonna have to give up his 4th. That really sucks, and the run bys are really not getting much done on the other side of the map. He might be forced to fight here very soon. The hallucinations are a nice touch, but yeah, Scan sees right through him, literally.
Well, you know, the Vikings might still go on them when the scan is good, so.
It's gonna be a pretty big game. Nice EMPs though. There's no energy left on the Phoenixes, and the shields are removed from just about everything in the army. But as stated before, like there's gonna be some. Well, actually, there might not be Colossus left over for this. This is getting a little bit messy. With the EMPs going down, CranK actually can't Graviton beam up, but those Zealots, even without upgrades, can still pack quite the punch.
That was still a very nice attack from MorroW. Yeah, mass Zealot Warpins might be able to clean this up, but that was a lot of Colossus down, and a lot of the Phoenixes died as well.
That was a really awkward last shot out of that Colossus, too.
I just really wonder what the thought process was on not getting Storm. It wasn't that he was like, you know, he couldn't afford it. He was max at that time, and you know, had a bank.
I'll agree with you on this. Had there been like 1 or 2 Storms in an army, I think MorroW wouldn't have even come close to winning that fight. I mean, the EMPs are cool and all, but realistically speaking, a big Storm would have just trumped that so hardcore. Yeah,
good Protosses, you know, they try not to bulk up their high templars in the first place, but then they have those extra ones behind, so when the ghosts do die, and they do die, because, I mean, they always get in the front of the lines, you come in with those, and that's what really saves you from just, you know, being bowled over.
CranK, this is a bold way to lose a lot of resources.
I guess
how many zealots is that? That's 20 zealots.
He's thinking about buying more time, but like that seems like you know, you could do that with 5 zealots, not 10.
Well, like the rocks down. Meanwhile, Phoenixes head up north. They have regenerated some energy, not a lot though, so only a couple Graviton beams available.
Could have Graviton beams the Marines. Oh, instead he loses too. Yeah. As new.
I'm not sure I love that he abandoned ship here on the Phoenix, especially after investing in them. Even just plus on weapons. I thought the Phoenixes were doing pretty well, to be honest, but. I mean, that fight, again, like, I think he might think, oh, well, the Phoenixes weren't that good, but I would kind of argue they were. They took out a huge Viking count very quickly.
They weren't bad. it is, you know, he is trying to go back into what you would call like a normal composition, which isn't terrible either. It's only bad because he doesn't have like the vital like upgrades like Storm and Blink, and his soccer count is actually like at 0. I don't think he's made a single one this game. Maybe the first one. Yeah, the first one.
Oh, who's at this morning? Stork.
Right, yeah.
It's the Stork composition. Stork did this versus Major in that really weird match. She was on this map too. Something about Protoss, Samagrove.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Usually, it's so funny because right now it's all about the Blink. So seeing anything different is kind of, what are you doing?
Phoenix is looking for a good killer.
Oh, I thought that was. I was like, I realized that was Ghost's cloak, but I was like, Banshee cloak. What the hell?
I'm loving the EMP. Yeah, personal cloak coming out. Although Banshee cloak's pretty cool when you can get away with it, but yeah, the EMP is just a good way to tell the Phoenix just to F right off.
Does CranK have any of those emergency high Templars that I was talking about? He has 4, and they're all in one position. You know, you really got to spread them out so you don't, you know, if massive EMPs go down, if you don't have an observer, for instance, because you don't realize they have cloaking as well, you want to have extra high Templars in the back. So.
The Zealots get wrecked on the left side of the map. CranK's got a pretty decent bank. I mean, he's got like one really solid warp in on him when this fight begins. There's gonna be a lot of Zealots, but I kind of think like I really wish we had. Oh, we do have a Dark Shrine. Okay, I want to see some DTs go like behind enemy lines when this fight starts, like just 1 or 2 even.
MorroW has been pretty good about like setting turrets.
Oh, those feedbacks are good. It's really hard to get feedbacks over Ghost. Ghost Snipe has a longer range, of course, but not going to matter as he trucks through this army. Vikings, there's just not a lot of anti-air. The couple of Archons stuck at the back. The Zealots giving chase, but there's some DTs in this army too. Let's not forget.
They're not focusing the Vikings either. I mean, I thought those Vikings were going to die, but at least they're dealing damage. Or maybe they still
awkward.
will.
That's awkward. I think the Archons should still prevail through this. And
Blink is done. Blink is done.
Well, it's not. Well, there's like what, 2 stalkers there? None. 1, 2. There we go. 3.
4.
Either way.
Nope. 3. Nope. 4.
Okay, it's 4.
Yeah. Either way, CranK actually did a really good engagement there. I'm not sure MorroW actually expected that. Maybe he was expecting more Phoenixes, or maybe it was just coming down to the fact that he did not target those Colossus.
Command Center gets lifted, and this is actually a pretty awkward fight to take. Yeah, this is gonna be a bad choke for EMPs for CranK. I mean, on the one hand, they'll choke it for the Colossus beams as well, so there's like benefits there, but CranK, who has had no upgrades this game, so close to 3-3. I kind of wish he had waited for this attack, but let's see if the timing fits. Archons on the front lines getting EMP'd again. DT's not revealed until they're close enough to this missile turret, but MorroW, despite kiting for his life right now, is struggling to deal with CranK's 2-2. Meanwhile, these other Zealots over here ready to come in from behind, maybe? At least the Mineral Alliance? Never mind, just kidding. Still Storm's couple holstered up here too.
Well, the Archons are probably going to go down here. It turns out one Colossus did survive, but for sure those Vikings, if they weren't being targeted down, would have killed all of them.
The production from MorroW might just barely hold if you can see these DTs, but it can't, and I think that's where this starts falling apart most. Because CranK, look at that supply time. I mean, that's just, I think that's what this comes down to. Death supply, though.
Exactly. And now on top of the production, this is really where it's kind of game over for MorroW. I mean, MorroW, they played like a really solid game. He was getting a really great position, and one bad fight.
Yeah, a little bit.